talk of the devil, here we are, the hoodie-wearing lead smuggler. That doesn't sound quite right, does it? Does it? Is it just me? I'm thinking of the wrong things. I'm going to stop my share and stop talking very quickly so that we're going to hand over to Kenneth now, one of our fabulous members, the same as Howard, one of our fabulous members. He's ready to rock and roll and teach us so much about lead smuggling, apparently. Over to you.
Thanks, Jill. Appreciate the introduction. I'm going to share with you today my journey of how I became a lead smuggler and how it all started with drug dealing and addiction and my young years, formative years at school. So I'm going to ask everybody before I start if they know what the drug is that I was selling. I'm going to give you the formula. You're not allowed to use Google. So if you know the answer, drop it in. It's C12H22O11. Give you 2 minutes to see if you got that. Anybody, anywhere, it's addictive, like probably nothing else on the planet. That's the clue. It's in everything. We love it. No, tuck, definitely not. It's legal. There we go. Yes, sugar. I started life out as a drug dealer selling sugar at school. What happened is, now that I look back, I realized I had what we call in marketing a canned audience. So I had a contained group of people who needed something. They needed sugar. I had unique access in the sense that I was a rower and I had a bicycle and I was in boarding school. So I could hop onto my bicycle and cycle into the river every day. And on the way back, stop at the sweet wholesalers and pick up things like fireballs and bring them back to the school. The market was kind of really open to me because I was in boarding school and the tuck shop only operated for 15 minutes during our second study break. That meant the rest of the time people needed sugar and I had sugar. So I started selling the stuff. Why? I was personally addicted to something called Fanta Orange. For those of you who don't know what that is, for those of you who do, it's fizzy, it's orange, and it's full of sugar. And I didn't have a lot of pocket money. So necessity made me become a drug dealer. I'm going to blame it on that. It was my need to get my sugar in. Not having pocket money, I had to figure out something. And that's kind of what happened. And I literally discovered these things called fireballs. They're like jawbreakers, but they're really, really hot. So it's like wasabi on steroids. And the kids loved them at school, and I had access. So I would cycle in, get them, come back, and you could see I had stock because I had what we called in South Africa a little Bob Tea bag. So Bob Tea was a brand of ATM, and it was like a little bag that you could close and zip up and put into your, so you know those expandable bags? It was one of those. When it was open, it was full of sweets. When it was closed, you didn't approach me. I was often late for class. I thought I was going to be rich. I thought I'd discovered, that was it. This is my life sorted. Problem with being addicted to sugar is I started eating my profits regularly. Eventually, I ran out of stock, so I couldn't keep the business going. And I discovered the false feeling of the spreadsheet billionaire. I'm sure as a lot of business owners, we've all done the numbers, we've put them in onto a spreadsheet and gone, if I do this and I do this and I do this, I'm going to be a billionaire tomorrow. It doesn't quite work like that. Hard lesson to learn at school. I then followed my career, got into sales, and got thrown out of a company I started because I was too disruptive. So I got this pleasant little email on December the 28th, 2015, saying, we don't like the way you do things. You're not a shareholder because we never signed you in as an owner of the business. So the agency you spent the last 10 years building, you don't have anything in it. Oh, and we're not giving you any more money ever again. Goodbye. Thanks. Okay. Well, that's a bit rough. Ironically, when I spoke to my wife, she was doing backflips. And I never got why she was so happy that I'd suddenly gone from employed to very unemployed with nothing. And she explained to me that the company had taken away all my family time. I wasn't with her. I wasn't with the children. The children saw me like this because I was always on my phone. We would walk into the mall and I would wander off 90 degrees to everybody else. And I don't know if wives, people have seen this, when somebody in your group gets on the phone, they go for a walk and they disappear, they meander, they go get lost. And she was extremely happy. Reality, we had to pay the bills. So I restarted the agency by myself. I wish I'd known Howard's trick because I had to relearn several volumes of information so I could restructure the business and take that to the market, which I did. But I come from South Africa. South Africa is a tough economy. It's not for the faint-hearted. My wife said, we need to do something for the kids. Let's move. Where? England. We like England. Strangely enough, we love the weather in England because it changes on a regular basis. I know people are going, England, it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy. Yes, it's also sunny, and it all happens in one day. And you get to see colors and you get to see the seasons. South Africa, Johannesburg, where I'm from, it's 28 to 35, 350 days of the year. Maybe 1 or 2 days it drops down to really cold where it's like 5. And then the rest of the time it's hot, 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 dry, hot, dry, hot. So we agreed, we came to the UK, we moved. All of that happened because I had to figure out again to build a business with nothing. And one of the lessons I've learned from the sugar episode and from this was you might think you're down, you might think you're out, but if you look around, the one thing that you've always got is life experience and your brain. And you can take that and turn that into a business. That allowed us to pay for our visas to move to the UK. We got indefinite leave to remain a month ago. So I'm now kind of semi-permanent. I'm waiting for my citizenship, but then I'll have a passport. I'll be really happy. But I arrived, what I thought was going to be a really cakewalk. I mean, it's England. Everybody speaks English. We're all the same. There's no cultural difference. Wrong. There's a massive cultural difference. And I had to get through all of that. We arrived in 2018. Somebody decided it was a bad idea, so they closed the whole country. COVID arrived. My business was just taking off and my business died. Literally, at the end of COVID, I was earning £400 a month. That's where we were. The British government were kind enough to support us entrepreneurs to a degree, but we had to figure out a way out of this. And that's where I became a lead smuggler, because how can I grow a business if I can't find customers? Turns out I'm pretty good at finding customers using the process that I've developed because I needed to pay the bills. I thought networking worked. I'm terrible at networking. I'm the guy that goes into the room, stands in a corner and has a cold drink and waves at everybody. Contrary to popular belief, I'm actually very shy. So this is nerve-wracking as hell for me, but I'm doing it because Jill said it was a good thing to do. So what I discovered was this thing called LinkedIn. LinkedIn's been around for a while. It's a safe place to network without being in front of people. That's what I discovered. I could start a conversation with 20 or 30 people every day, but without actually having to speak to them. The thing about LinkedIn is that conversation stays alive. You know, if you're making a phone call, I used to be in sales. I'm still in sales. Long ago, when I was young, before computers, before Google, we used to have this thing called a Yellow Pages book, and we had a Rolodex. It was before the Filofax, and that was our CRM. It was a little box with all the cards, with all the customers and all the prospects, and we used to write everything in there. I would pick up the phone and I'd phone 100, 120 people a day, get nowhere. Next to me was an old man who was a sales dog of epic proportions. Every month he would hit his numbers. I could never understand how. But he made 5 or 10 phone calls. He got appointments. He closed deals. I'm making way more phone calls. I'm not closing the deals. As I got older, I realized it's the lack of desperation that he had. I was desperate. I needed to close those deals. Every time I picked up the phone, I had to close the deal. The thing about LinkedIn is it hides your desperation very, very well. You can do a connection to somebody. You can drop a video to somebody. You don't have to do the business. They don't have to reply. You can do 40 of these every single day. And nobody's going to come back and be ugly to you. The people want to be nice to you. They kind of understand the idea of becoming a community, collaborating. And that's when I realized that actually this thing that I used to poo-poo when I was younger, 2012, LinkedIn came around. I said, LinkedIn is rubbish. You do Google, SEO, you do paid media. That's how you get leads. Spoke to a lady the other day. She pays £12,000 and generates no leads. You go to LinkedIn and you can generate 400 conversations a month. It costs you nothing. All you have to do is put in the legwork. And this whole journey of becoming a lead smuggler originated from me looking at sugar, me selling stuff, me getting stuck in COVID, me having no money to pay the bills, and turning that around. And we're doing well now. I have a team of 14 people where we were 3 people. And that all came through because we discovered that LinkedIn is very good at lead gen. B2B space is really easy to work. The only thing you have to do, which I find a lot of people are afraid to do, is, as Joel said, be vulnerable, be authentic. A lot of people don't want to talk about themselves on LinkedIn. They're all thinking that I've got to write content that is of immense value. No, there is always somebody who's 2 or 3 steps just behind you on the ladder of learning. So share your life, share your experience, share what you've struggled with, how you've battled and overcome. And I can guarantee you there are people that are going to read that and follow you. And don't think just because you've posted that you've got no connections, there's no inbound leads, that your content is terrible. It just means you need to be there more often. You need to engage, you need to talk to people. But there are people, we call them lurkers. They will never like, they will never leave a comment. But one day you'll get an email saying, hey, do you do Sales Navigator training? Do you do this? And you'll be going, where did you come from? Oh, no, we've been following you for the last 6 months. But you've never left a comment. You've never said anything. You've never done anything. No, but we like what you write. We like what you talk about. So don't think you need to post and get a lead. Share your story. I'm sharing my story, and I feel I'm safe sharing my story on LinkedIn because I'm kind of nameless, faceless. Turns out I'm not really that nameless and faceless anymore. Since I became the hoodie guy and the lead smuggler, I seem to get a lot more people talking to me because I now wear hoodies, even though it's 24 degrees outside. I'm beginning to question my choice of corporate wear. But the fact is, I took off my tie. I took off my collar because that's not who I am. And I started sharing my story and people started talking to me. And when I engaged with them, I wasn't desperate to close the deal. I wasn't desperate. We call it commission breath. I don't know if anybody's heard that term. I wanted to genuinely help people get more visibility, help them get more business. And out of that, I walked away with 2 words: advocates and prospects. So when you go onto LinkedIn and you talk to somebody, think of that person. Is that a prospect or are they an advocate? And if you can make them an advocate, it's worth far more than making them a prospect. Advocates will go out there and tell the world how amazing you are. Prospects will close a deal, and then you've got to work on them to deliver. Advocates are way better at lead generation than anything else. So that's my story, and I wanted to share it because I think a lot of people struggle with growing their businesses. And at one stage, I was earning £400 a month. I couldn't pay the rent. I was in the UK with no network. I'm now on the other side of that Rubicon, team, business, but it took me putting myself out there. It took me going, hey guys, this is me. Shoot me, love me, whatever, but it's your choice. Turns out that I'm 25% of the time, most of people like me, and I can live with it. So that's it. Thank you. I've dropped my LinkedIn please connect with me. And if anybody wants anything, I said to Jill, if you're part of the community, I'll happily give you an hour session where I'll run you through LinkedIn and tell you what you're doing wrong. It's free, no sales pitch, promise. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's brilliant.